Hey, I want to make a short video explaining how you set up the failsafe configuration for your FlySky remote together with the INAV flight controller software. FlySky remotes are quite affordable, very good entry remotes. Just setting up the failsafe configuration can be a little bit tricky. So I've split up this tutorial into three parts. What are the configuration steps you need to do in a remote? What are the configuration steps you have to do for INAV? And how you actually check everything that it's working correctly. Maybe just a little summary why you should always do a proper failsafe configuration before you go out and have your first flight. You want to have a defined behavior what the aircraft is doing in case your RC link is lost. And defined behavior can be anything from returning to home to just crashing aircraft into the ground. As long as you know what will happen when the RC link is lost, you can prepare for that, and that's why you should set up this type of configuration. Why could there be actually a reason that the link goes down? Well, something as easy and stupid that your transmitter is actually failing. Say you're running just out of battery, but also your receiver can fail. Think about maybe a broken connection to the flight controller, so it can't send any more signals. Also here you want to have a defined behavior what's happening. There can be interference of the RC signal. Those remotes operate in 2.4 gigahertz. That's the same as Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. So if you're flying somewhere in the city, there might as well be a reason that there is some interference, and you want to have a fail-safe getting your aircraft out of this interference or just getting it down to the ground in a safe way. And the fourth and probably most obvious reason why you want to have a fail-safe configuration is that you're just flying too far out. 2.4 gigahertz is also not the frequency that gives you the most range. So if you're flying too far out, you want to have a defined behavior here as well, probably in that return to home and get your aircraft back in a safe way. So as the first step, we want to set up our transmitter configuration to actually have failsafe enabled. We need to do this in three different steps. The first thing is that we will actually manipulate our throttle low endpoint, and this will allow us to then go into the failsafe configuration and use this manipulated throttle low endpoint. This is minus 120%, and set this as a failsafe. And once this is done and saved, we can revert our endpoint configuration to be back to 100%. Well, it is a little bit tricky to go through the different steps, so I will show you this in a video, what you have to do and what button you have to press in what way. Let's have a look. We just have to turn on the remote. We will then go into the menu. For this, we hold the OK button. We will press down to select the function setup. Confirm this also is OK. We go down one to go to the endpoints configuration. And then we go down again. We go down again to channel number 3. So this is the throttle channel. You can see here. And as said, what we would like to manipulate is the range for the low endpoint and set this to 120%. Just hold the up button so it goes to 120. And now to confirm and save it, experienced FlySky owners will know we have to hold the cancel button for that a little while, and it saved it. So we go out, just pressing quickly cancel, and we change this now in the system setup. We go to system setup, confirm this OK. We will go down now to the RX setup, and in the RX setup we go to failsafe, and there we go down to the channel number 3, the throttle channel. Confirm this was OK, and you see here now we can configure the value for failsafe, and the down value is now allowed to be much higher. But just first we have to enable failsafe. Just change this with the up button so it's set to enable. Hold the throttle down and then hold the cancel key to save it. Right, so now it took a value of minus 118. This is fine, will work just great like that. And now not to forget also to hold the cancel button to save the failsafe configuration. So this has saved now our failsafe configuration. We just quickly press cancel twice to go back to the menu. We go to the function setup, and now down to endpoints again. What we want to do is we want to undo our configuration for the channel number 3. So this was set to 120. Now we just press here down a few times to go back to 100. And also not to forget to save it by holding cancel. Right. And that was it. Let's do a quick check that the configuration is correct. Hold OK to go back to the menu. We go down to the RX setup. We go to Failsafe. Channel 3 is configured to -118. That will be an OK value. And we then check on function setup, the endpoints, everything is set to 100. So this is great. This remote is configured for Failsafe. Right, so that was the configuration for the remote. And that little piece of magic will do the following now. If there's a Failsafe event, the pulse length for the throttle channel will go to 900. Well, normally the pulse lengths will be between 1000 and 2000. So we only need to tell the flight controller now if it receives a pulse length of 900, it should trigger the failsafe. Okay, let me just show you the steps to take to configure now the failsafe with INAV Configurator. Let's connect to the flight controller. We will go into the failsafe tab, and as said, first step we need to do is here we set up the value of 980, because we will send something around 900 as pulses when the failsafe event is being triggered, so this will be way below it, and valid values between 1000 and 2000. This is exactly what we want. And then what the quad should do when the failsafe event is being triggered, just disarm it, land it. If you land, you have to configure what throttle value should be applied. 1000 probably will be a bit too low, so it depends on where you hover and where you descend, and also there be aware on different battery voltage levels. A full battery might have a much lower throttle value than a battery that's almost empty for the right value to use here. And yeah, return to home. If you use that, you have to make sure that your return to home function actually works. And you have to test that before. I'm not going to show you this in this video, but if your return to home is working, you are quite good in selecting this option. That will be the most safest way to do it. And do nothing is basically you disable Failsafe. If you want to fly missions where you fly out of your RC link reach, this is something to do, but you have to be very careful what you're setting up here. Right, let's just choose this for here and then save and reboot. Okay, we have configured our remote now for Failsafe. We have configured our flight controller and the desired behavior in Failsafe. What is left now is to test that everything is working like we want it to. The first quick check to do is while we are still connected with the INAV configurator, that this Failsafe icon is being triggered. Now, it should not be triggered when your flight controller is powered up, your receiver is powered up, the remote is paired with the receiver. That should be fine. You should have a link. That should be great. What we want to do now is we want to turn off the remote, and it should come up as a red icon. If that is the case, that means so far you have done everything right. Now, let's have a look like this is done. We are back here. We have configured Failsafe to the value that we wanted to have. We have set up something that should happen. Quick check here is, am I remote paired with the receiver? I just turn off the remote now here, and we should see that the parachute icon will go on. Turn the remote off, parachute icon goes on, means we are in fail-safe mode. So the flight controller already recognizes that we have configured this correctly. Turning the remote on again, and we are out of fail-safe. So this is the first quick check to do. And for the rest, we need to do bench test. Okay, let's do bench test here with the quad. For this, I'm showing you the USD. I have here a quad that actually has GPS configured and set up for return to home. But that doesn't matter. It will be the same test. So what you do, props off, power on the quad, arm it, spin up the motors a little bit, and then turn off the remote. I was seeing here, throttle around 23, and you see now it switched to auto throttle, throttle's going down, and the quad is landing. And we will see the failsafe RC link lost message in the OSD. That means we are all good. We can maybe turn on the remote, see the link comes back. Okay, we're back here in INAV. Our bench test was successful, and before we go in the field, do a field test, just want to show you how to set up a failsafe switch so we can test this properly. And just reconnect to the flight controller. You go to the modes tab, you go to failsafe, and you set up a channel. I'm using channel 7 here now. This is the switch number A, so the leftmost switch on your remote. Just set it up and set up the range to be 1800 to 2100. Basically means you flip the switch down, failsafe will engage, and we save that, and we're ready to go out in the field and test that our failsafe is working.
Well, not so much magic with that, just get the quad up, get some space between the quad and the ground, and whenever you feel ready, you will go and flip the configured failsafe switch, and the quad should land, or do whatever you have configured for failsafe, in my case landing. And this is working. Alright, field test successful.
Okay, thanks everyone. I hope this video will be helpful how to configure failsafe if you have a FlySky remote, and I wish everyone a very safe and non-failing flying.